Things have escalated. Let me show you. The engine has fallen out of the Touring. Well, I say fallen. We've removed it. So the yellow wagon is in the unit, and we've taken the 2.8 out of the car. There's a few reasons we've taken it out. We've got a sump gasket that needs doing because it's a bit weepy. The rear main has given up, so that needs doing, and that's a box off job. And also the exhaust manifold I wanted to do some work on because I've still got stock headers, so we want to change them up. And I just generally wanted to give all this a good once over. Considering the mileage and age of the car, it's super clean. Like, this is the original front subframe in the car. Hang on, my battery's dying on that. But yeah, other than some oil spillage, it's super clean. Really not rusty at all. I'm not going to put a reinforced one in yet. This engine's going to come back out again in a year or two for some more spicy work, which I will tell you about at a later date. But yeah, whilst the engine's out, we're going to clean all of this up because it's pretty grubby, get rid of all the oil spills, and maybe take the insulation off this back wall. It's all gone from underneath anyway, but yeah, it looks absolutely manky in there, so I think I'm just going to rip it all off and then give it a bloody good clean. I've cleaned the engine up a little bit. This was all pretty gunky, so that's looking a bit fresh, but I figured I'd pick the camera up before I go too far. So again, I'm just filming on the phone, not the GoPro. But yeah, first things, well, I cleaned up this crap, started to take the manifolds off. So there's one. If you've ever wondered what the inside of an engine with 225,000 miles looks like, well, I can't show you that well, but I can show you. So supposedly this has done 225k, because that's what the clocks say, and all the mileage history, etc. So yeah, it looks like it's done 225k, but she's a trooper. So anyway, so we're doing this first. So I've whipped one off, and then what we're going to replace it with is, so rather than use s50 manifolds, which is like the go-to on a 36, I like doing things different just because why not. I managed to find these from someone in the UK, but they are Turner Motorsport. I think they call them equal length M52, S52 shorty headers. So they're basically like a tubular version of a M52 manifold. So it's kind of a hybrid between an S50 and an M52, and this is what you're left with. So that is what you get. So you can see why you call them, or they call them, shorty headers. I don't know if that's that one. No, it's that way around. Yeah, so they've already been heat wrapped, which is a nice touch. These are actually 4 left-hand drive cars, so clearance might be an issue, but I believe they come off another car already, and one of the ports has been modified. I think it's cylinder number 6, this one. Sorry, no, it's this one, which might be, is that cylinder number 4? It's been re-welded. I'm just going to assume it doesn't blow. It might do, I don't know, we'll have to see. But what I'm going to do is Dremel the inside of that, because that's been modified, and it doesn't sit that nicely. So yeah, we're going to possibly tidy that up a little bit. It looks like it's been welded okay. It's not the best job, but it should be fine. So yeah, really this is just a test run to get them fitted to the car whilst the engine's out, and see what they sound like. I have some S50, so they can go on at a later date if needs be, but I figured, I stumbled across these. I think I paid £200 for them, which is quite a good price, because they're, I think, nearly $1,000 new. But yeah, we'll just have to see, one, how they sound, how much power they make, and how much of a bastard are they to fit. Fitting should be easy, because obviously the engine is on the crane. Some of these nuts are going to be a bitch to get on, but not that bad. Well, this one looks terrible. So yeah, that one's going to be fun. But yeah, so that's pretty exciting. And then obviously besides that, we've got to whip the box off to do the rear main. And we've got to pull the sump off, and I'm going to give all the sump a good clean up, because that's pretty disgusting. And then yeah, maybe weld some reinforcements into the strut towers, just because whilst we're in here. And then yeah, just give it a bloody good clean. There's a lot more that I'd like to do whilst we're in here, but this isn't supposed to be a get carried away and do everything. This is just a quick in and out, so I can use the car this year on track days. And yeah, not get too carried away. There is a further plan down there for an M50 build, but yeah, we're not getting into that just yet. That's probably going to be over the winter or next year or something like that. So this is just a quick refresh, quick tart up whilst we're in here, and upgrade a few bits and pieces whilst we've got it apart. So yeah, happy days. Thankfully, this car is actually super clean despite the mileage and age. So like even these studs all look pretty fresh. So easy as that, which is pretty good. I don't know if this engine's maybe done or been warranted by BMW at some point, because obviously there was a Nicosil issue. So I'm dubious because it runs really well, made good power, doesn't smoke or anything like that. So it might be a replacement engine, which is why despite the mileage it's in such good health. But who knows, who cares, it is what it is. But it works alright for me. I was pleasantly surprised at how clean all of this stuff was and how clean the subframe was, etc. So happy days. Anyway, right, I'm going to whip this off. There we go, and that's the second manifold off. And I can't actually fit these properly because I haven't ordered manifold gaskets because I'm not that organised. But let's chuck them on and just see how they sit. Hopefully they clear the block okay. I think that one goes there. Now let me grab some nuts just to whip them up. Right, so now they're fitted, I say loosely fitted, I just don't think they're going to work because cylinders 1 to 3, I've got the flange fat with the head, but the clearance is non-existent. I mean, it's literally touch on the block, sort of down there. There's probably a hairline gap, but here, I mean, literally the flange is on the block. I mean, yeah, I guess you could clearance these. They're only like casting fins, aren't they? So I could clearance them. But this is like super tight up against it. Obviously, no heat wrap, it probably would have a bit more clearance. But then you got to get some bolts through here to do the flanges up. So I mean, that's gonna be fun. I guess you could always put the bolt up through the bottom and then nut on the top. But the real issue is if you go to the back one, like the flange on the exhaust is not flush against the head, and it looks like it's hitting. Where are we hitting? I think maybe on the head there, or is it this lambda bracket, or is it just in fact where that flange is bent? You know what, I should probably take that off and check to see if the flange is actually flat. But yeah, this is not ideal. Right, after a wee bit of fettling, I've got the flanges to sit flush, or both of them. Clearance is definitely tight. This back one is okay, no major issues. And obviously once there's a gasket on there, it's going to space them out ever so slightly more, so that's kind of good. But yeah, doing up some of these bolts, especially with that heat wrap on there, is going to be nigh on impossible. So yeah, don't know how confident that I'm gonna, or how confident I am I'm actually going to be able to do all of this up. But I guess we'll try it and see what happens. I think I'm going to have to clearance the block slightly. I think that there is okay. But I'm just going to mark with a paint pen, and then I'm going to just die grinder some of this away, just because obviously once the exhaust gets hot and expands, I'm sure it's going to be touching on the block, which I'd rather avoid. But up here, all of this actually looks okay. It's just literally a bit tight for clearance on this whole thing here, really. I'm not super happy with the fitment, to be honest. It's less than ideal, but I mean, it is what it is, I guess. If I want to run them, then fitment is going to be an issue somewhat. So yeah, I think I'm going to paint pen that and then just Dremel out a little bit of the block. So I'm just going to mark basically where the flange comes to, and then if I basically trim off up to where I've marked, then we should gain ourselves a little bit of clearance. That's what I'm thinking anyway. There's not much you can do, really. It is what it is. So yeah, but I think I want to run them. I mean, to be honest, they look fucking sick. So yeah, let's make it work. Right, after my initial flapping, we seem to have clearanced that quite nicely. So I've just used a die grinder with a diamond bit on there and just taken a bit from here, from here. Obviously that doesn't weaken the block because the cylinders are way back here. This is just some extra casting for some sort of mount. But yeah, just to clearance that and taking a little bit off this heat shield. Obviously they're a bit sharp, but I mean, yeah, it's fine. Who's putting their hands down there anyway? Probably me. Right, so let's just trap that back on and check fitment. I'm not going to act like there's tons of clearance because there isn't, but there is now some clearance for a little bit of expansion when it gets hot. There we go, should be able to just about see that for camera focuses. So yeah, pretty happy with that. That's probably as good as I can get. I don't want to take tons of material from the block. But yeah, so I now need to order some gaskets. They'll be here in the week. And yeah, have the fun task of fitting them. This one looks pretty straightforward because you can get to most of them because it's quite a nice simple manifold. Maybe one or two might be a bit tricky, but yeah, this one, absolutely God knows how I'm doing up those bolts because yeah, you can't even see them. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll do the best we can. If we can't get every single bolt on there, then we'll have to try it and see if it leaks. I mean, we can get to that one. Maybe get a spanner in there through the top there to do that up. Those you should be able to do with a ratchet. But yeah, the couple in there. Wow, yeah. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So that's all done, which is good. So now we need to probably whip off the box, ready to do the rear main, and we need to drop the oil out of the engine as well. Right, it's the next day, well, 2 days later, it's been the weekend. I've had a haircut, which is good. I'm going to shelve the tubular manifold idea for now because I'm not happy with the fitment of them. They're too tight against the rocker cover. The block isn't really an issue, like that can get hot, it's not a massive issue I don't think, but the rocker cover I don't want to melt. And I think I'd have to take the ceramic wrap off, or heat wrap, whatever you call it, to be able to do up any of the bolts. Bank 1, so cylinders 1 to 3 was fine, but 4 to 6, bank 2, yeah, I just don't think I'd get the bolts done up. So I think I have to revisit that with that particular set of manifolds. I do have another idea, which I won't tell you about now, but maybe in the future we will cross that road. Anyway, the main reason why I'm quick to shelve the idea is because I do also have these. And when I say these, I mean E36 M3 tubular headers. So, not quite equal length, I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. I guess they're similar length, I don't know. But yeah, so that's what's going to go on, because I know they fit. And these equally aren't a straight fit. There's some crap you got to deal with. But this is probably the best setup that I can do right now, because those I'm just not happy with. So we're going to put these on. I need to change the flexi. I've just ordered one. I did think of changing these for a V-band, but again, time is precious. I think I'm just going to leave that for now. And then we're going to swap the whole exhaust to M3 full exhaust, so Scorpion back box, and then a D-Cat OEM midsection. It might be quite loud, and we might need to weld some sports cats back into this so it's track friendly, but I figured what I could do is get all of this on, and then we go and do a another rolling road session and just see what changes bolting on an M3 exhaust would do. Now obviously there might be a little bit more horsepower you could eke out of it if you then tune the ECU further, but it'd be interesting just to see, does a freer flowing exhaust actually make a real world difference if you just slap it on? Because everyone loves to go, oh, you know, D-Cat exhaust or M3 exhaust, blah blah blah. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. So I'm doing this sort of in the name of science, and secondly because I have the stuff there. Rather depressingly, all of the, well, some of the parts that fit this M3 exhaust are insanely expensive from the dealer. They use individual gaskets on the head, which I believe you can get away with using M52 gaskets because they're a lot cheaper. Thankfully, I haven't priced them up, so I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I have some already, so that's fine. But even the hardware for the rest of the exhaust, the gasket for the manifold to downpipe, those two gaskets are like 55, 60 quid from the dealer. So I've just ordered a bunch of hardware, and it's not even everything, and that was £190 from the dealer, which is absolutely obscene. So when you think, if you were going to go and buy one of these exhausts, like second hand, you're going to pay quite a lot of money, and then buy all the hardware, it's going to cost you a lot of money. You may as well just build a custom exhaust these days. So it's getting into silly money. I mean, these don't owe me a huge amount because I bought the full exhaust and I sold the cats when they were good money, hence why that midsection is decatted. But yeah, this is like getting into stupid territory for the horsepower it's going to make, if it makes any. Silly. But anyway, they look cool, and really I just want the noise, but I'm kind of curious as to what power it makes, so who knows. Anyway, so we're going to shelve that for the moment. Like I said, I've ordered the flexi, so we'll come back to that once the flexi's on, and get that on. Anyway, I've just set the engine up in a position whereby I can do the sump gasket and the rear main. So I'm going to start with the rear main. So I've just got Febby bits, new rear seal, and a new metal gasket. So hopefully that fixes our rear main leak. But yeah, let's get that whipped off. I'm going to drop the oil first, so all the oil's out. This oil in it is actually really fresh, so I need to find a nice clean container that I can catch it in and reuse it, because it's expensive oil. Right, we've whipped off the rear main seal, so we've got our new gasket to go on. And then I've just got to install this in here. Cleaned it all up as best I can, didn't go crazy, but spent 10-20 minutes just making it look pretty. Never going to see it ever again, hopefully, but yeah, anyway. Let's get that popped in there, and then that can be bolted back up. Right, we've got our new seal installed. I'm just going to give this a little prep, just to brake clean and try and make it as clean and tidy as possible. Just because we don't want any leaks around here. Okay, now that's nice and clean. I'm just going to put a little bit of engine oil on the crank, just to help the seal slide over it. Because these are usually quite a tight fit. So gasket on there first. So we're just going to pop our timing cover on. That's now all cleaned up. Got a new gasket on the back of the block, and then the new sealing ring in there. Need a hammer really, but there we go. So that now goes in the bin, and then that's now installed nicely. And there we go. So that's that part done. I'm not going to torque them up yet because the sump's got to come off and a couple of the bolts go through there. So we'll just do a torque procedure at the end. So now I think it's time to whip the sump off. So bear with me whilst I undo about 4 million bolts. Right, back at it. So we're a bit further along. Got the sump off. Pretty happy with everything I found. I don't know if this is the original engine to the car. I believe it to be, but I don't know 100%. I mean, it looks like it's done 200,000 miles. It's pretty, there's a lot of carbon and crap in there. It's always had oil changes, but the car gets driven pretty hard. But yeah, all looks good. The main things I've checked are the oil pump nut is still tight, which I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to leave it. This car's done numerous track days, loads of abuse, and the nut is still fine. A bit of slack on the chain, but that's pretty normal. They tend to be quite slack. At some point, we're going to build another engine for it anyway. I have checked though the pickup, because that's nice and easy, and I found lots of stuff in there. So these 3 bits, when it focuses, that's silicon, that little guy, and that big blob. So the strainer's done its job there. And then this is plastic. There's a few smaller bits and then a couple of these bigger bits. So I've never seen the oil light come on this car, but obviously stuff in the strainer is less than ideal because that's going to restrict the oil flow. But we fished all that out, cleaned the strainer, and yeah, got rid of them. I'm guessing they're part of the timing chain guides, which again, this car makes no noise on the timing chain, nothing like that. I'm not doing a full rebuild on a 220,000 mile engine. It's just not really worthwhile. Certainly not at the moment anyway. But yeah, other than that, it's looking pretty good. There's no metal in there, just bits of plastic timing chain. And they're small, they're really small. Like literally, there's my finger, they're tiny. So happy with that. I've prepped the sump surface, given that a good clean up. I'm just going to go and clean the sump up because there's a lot of crap in there, ready for new gaskets to go on there. And yeah, smash it back on. Right, a little bit more progress. So we've just cleaned all of this up because there was so much carbon in there. So I've just spent the last hour removing the worst of it. It's not perfect, but most of the loose carbon is gone. Obviously, you've got to be careful not to drop anything nasty in there. But yeah, cleaned up the inside and outside of the sump. Quick clean up of the bolts. Clean up the dipstick. That O-ring probably wants replacing, but we can do that later. And then just a bit of prep on the sump itself. So cleaned both ends. Well, this side of the block. So the block has been cleaned. I've got the gasket there. I'm going to cable tie the gasket into place. But before I do that, I'm just going to put a bit of Victor Rines sealant over the rear main cover here, and at the timing cover at the front, just because that's an area prone to leaking. So we better just put a little bit there, just for peace of mind. Right, here we are, back at it then. So the sump's on, the box is on, the rear main nearly tripped over. That's good. The box is on, rear main's all done. Dipstick still needs to go in, but I've just ordered a new O-ring because the last one was pretty badly split. So they're like £1.80 from the dealer, so that's good. I've got a couple of jobs to do before I can fit these properly. Because I'm using a 5-speed box, you have to very slightly modify the gearbox webbing. So I apologise in advance for the lack of light. Let me see if I can put the torch on. There we go. Just about here, this needs trimming off. If you don't do that now, if you ever need to do a clutch whilst you've got these manifolds on, you stand no chance of getting the box off. So that needs to be modified. It's not that structural, so no big deal. They clear the block fine, so that's good. And then the second thing is, the internet says that you need to fit M52 lambda bungs because the S50 ones, they sit too far out. I spoke to someone who said no, I fitted them as they are and they work fine. So not sure what that's about. They've got super long threads, so I'm kind of tempted to just cut them like in half just to get the M52 lambda a bit further in there. Where's the lambda? So you can kind of see if you just fit them. Do it with that one instead. They don't really go in the flow of gases. So I'm thinking if I cut them down to say like there, at least then they are properly in the gas flow. So something like that. Because at the moment they're like that, which is probably less than ideal. So yeah, I'm thinking of basically cutting them kind of in half, because they're threaded most of the way down anyway. And then yeah, that should be in the gas flow. The other option is obviously to cut them off and weld some M52 bungs in, but I don't think that's necessary. So I'm just going to cut them down and send it and see what happens. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then the next thing to do is there's our new bung for the dipstick, or the O-ring. Strut tire reinforcement's gone, but we need to repair this flexi. It's had a pretty hideous repair in the past, which is good, but it looks fine from the outside, but it's actually cracked. Don't know if you're going to see this on camera particularly well. It just looks like a rusty old exhaust. But yeah, some of these ribs internally have already got splits on, so it's just a matter of time until that fails. So I bought one of these. It's called a bellow. It's not just a flexi or a generic looking flexi. This is what would have been on there originally. The only trouble is where this has been welded in, they've welded it quite high. So we might be a little bit short of material, so I might have to leave some of this grotty welding on there. We'll see. But yeah, what I'm going to do is, because obviously the fitment of this needs to be pretty much bang on, so I'm going to make a jig and actually just bolt it to the table, or screw it to the table. So we're going to screw the headers to there, and then something like that. Obviously once it's squared up that way. And then screw it so it doesn't move. So then that way we can cut this off and know that fitment is good. Well, that's the plan anyway. Let's see if we make a hash of it. Right, there's our super fancy jig. So that should pretty sturdy. This tabletop needs a metal top at some point, but all the time it's got a wooden top. It works quite nicely to just bang some wood screws in. But yeah, it's pretty sturdy. So we're just gonna whoosh through there, whoosh, with this bad boy, and yeah, make that fit hopefully. I think I'm going to cut this on the original weld, or just this side of it, and then yeah, cut this quite high and then just keep cutting back until it fits, because obviously I want a nice tight fit. It would be nice to get rid of all this crappy old nasty metal, but I'd have to probably extend this slightly because this is quite short. Also got to be really careful because the O2 sensor is bang on where that is. If I'd thought about this in advance, what I should have done is bought some more stainless that's 51mm I think, and then I could have cut this right down here, got rid of all that crap, and then welded it there, and then just added a little 10mm or 20mm piece. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's going to be better than what's on there, so happy days. Right, and then after a little bit of fettling, we've whopped this grotty old thing off. You can see the crack quite clearly now. It's there, and it looks shit, so goodbye that. New bellow is trimmed. I've just spent 20 minutes or so getting the fitment as good as can be. Obviously I'm not a pro exhaust welder. I do sills and jacking points and stuff, but exhaust work is I've not got a fancy TIG. We're just going to be MIGging it. We'll use stainless wire. Obviously it's not ideal, but this is, you know, it's for my own car, and it's already had a flexi welded in there. I made a bit of a mess of the pipe, so it's going to be better. I mean, it already looks like 100 times better. Fitment is pretty much as good as I can get it. The whole idea was to make sure that it goes in there without, you know, forcing this out slightly, or, you know, whatever. So that literally drops in there beautifully and doesn't sort of manipulate the pipe, which is what we want. We'll try and get it to, obviously once I've got a tack on there, then I can rotate it so it fits perfectly on the other pipe. But yeah, pretty happy with that. It does sit a bit better than that. There we go. Literally. So happy with that. So yeah, time to fire up the Artec and run some stainless through there. So get that welded up. And there we go. Top side's welded. I'll do the back side once it's off the jig. But yeah, it's quite hard to get a consistent weld on stainless with a MIG. You can see this is the same settings on the welder, but you get that and then that. So I'm obviously doing something wrong, but they're good enough welds for this. It's not a fancy piece of art, it just needs to be strong. So happy with that. And now she's fully welded. Pretty happy, to be honest. Going to clean up some of these old welds, these ones here, because that's from the previous bodgery. Obviously it's not going to be perfect, it's a 30-year-old exhaust, but pretty happy with that. Looks pretty good. And the main thing is it actually flexes, and it looks OEM, so better than the shit that was on there. Anyway, so now clearance the block, that's all done. Clearance that quite nicely. So obviously this rib did come down here, so I've just cut the wetset off and then flapped this to get smooth. So I think we're pretty much ready to slap them on and just make sure fitment's okay. And that is the finished product. All the hardware's on, everything's torqued out, 20 Newton meters. There's only a couple you've got to do up with the spanner, but the rest of them have done it with the torque wrench. O2 sensors are in. So last few upgrades to do. Going to pull the insulation off the engine bay just because it looks terrible. Strut tower reinforcements to weld in, and then just clean the engine bay. But yeah, that's basically it for this one. So it looks pretty good there. So I think I'm going to knock this one on the head. I'm filthy. But yeah, so that's my exhaust manifold saga. Wanted to fit those equal length M52 style headers, but it wasn't meant to be. So we've gone with the S50s, which I'm secretly happy about because they probably make the most peak power, and obviously on this engine with the mods that's on it, peak power is, you know, the aim really. So yeah, anyway, get this truck back in the car in the next few days once I've sorted out a few other bits off camera, and then at some point in the future I'll re-dyno it. I don't think I'll retune it, but I'll just re-dyno it once I've done a few miles on it and let the ECU adapt and see if we make any more power, or might even lose power, who knows. But yeah, anyway, if you make it this far, it's a bit of a long-winded video, but yeah, thank you for watching and peace out.